Also, hello, Chip. It's 10:30. We can go ahead and get started. Hello, Brendan. So this is our second official Koha-US Baby Dev Special Interest Group meeting. Last time we worked on setting up Koha testing dockers for everyone who is interested. Does everyone have one set up? I guess, Ed, you weren't here last time. You're muted.
I do, but not available at the moment.
Okay.
It's on my computer at home.
Okay.
And since I didn't know about this meeting, I didn't bring that laptop.
Yeah. Sounds good. Chip, did you get yours set up?
No, not yet.
Okay. Did you run
Not
into a
at all.
problem that you needed help with, or just
No, just time. Time constraints, yeah.
cool? I thought maybe what we could do today is find a bug that needs sign off and sign it off in a Koha testing docker so we can go through the steps.
Ooh, I know a bug that needs sign off.
Oh, good. What bug?
Oh, let me find the number. I just pushed it.
So someone who's not me should be the one who walks through and does it.
Yeah. If I could remember a number for any length of time. Here we go. 38331.
Jason or Brendan, would one of you like to do the sign off? Do the maybe screen share so folks can see the process?
This is a pretty easy one. It's just making a few more fields visible or optionally visible in item search results.
I mean, I can try. I don't know if I have my testing docker set up correctly, so maybe this is a good test for that as well.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Jason, I feel you. I'm in the same boat. I will be interested to test mine.
Yes, and you're also gonna have to hold my hand hard, so that's the point of this baby dev thing, right? All right, okay. Let me share my screen. I don't have it spun up right now either, so give me a second. My computer crashed earlier. So that
Brendan's
was fun.
instructions back in from that he shared with us last meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't here last meeting because I was at Disneyland, which was way more fun, I think. But I did look at the recording and I saw Brendan's documentation, which was great.
And that would be great to share with the community as well. Okay,
Jason,
so
Look at that.
will you do a Control C and then KT is KD one of the aliases or KTD down?
Oh yeah, because it crashed while I was running earlier.
I do a git pull and a KTD pull before you start up.
Okay.
As well as your Koha repository, just making sure that's up to date. Sometimes one affects the other. Most times it doesn't, but sometimes it's
Okay.
And just to shout more commands at you, I've also had to sometimes do a Docker system prune when my computer has crashed or rebooted while KTD was up, like leaves stuff in Docker that it needs to get dumped out.
Okay, I stopped it again. So start over. Where should I start?
So for your Koha repository, get that up to date.
Okay, so what's that?
Wherever your
So why don't you
local wherever your local Koha repository is.
So probably, if you just CD Koha, that's probably, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Then,
So see what branch it's on now. Git branch. Sorry, I shouldn't have jumped in.
no, that's great.
Lisette?
Oh, please do. I
Please
have no
do.
idea what I'm
Yep, so
doing.
you're on main, so you want to do git pull to get that up to date. Ooh,
Okay.
and I always do a git status just to make sure there's no weird stuff hanging around. Yep, so it's nice and clean.
And just for
And
like
then-
the viewing audience, that git pull, usually you don't really have to worry about being up to date before you bring Koha testing Docker up, but yeah, it's weird sometimes if it crashes.
Yeah. So yeah, now if you change to your back to your Koha testing Docker folder.
Projects directory thing. And just scan that. There. Okay.
So yeah, in Koha, in the Koha testing, so if you do ls minus la, see what folders you've got.
That one.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, if you cd Koha testing Docker, yeah, sometimes the changes they make in the Git repository affect the Git, the KDD images. So yeah, Git pull. Quite a lot of changes.
That second git pull was updating the Koha testing Docker files after you
Yeah.
updated the Koha files before.
Yeah.
Again, over narrating things.
Yeah, and then hopefully nothing's wrong with that. But then get KTD pull, yes. So this might take a little bit. The Koha repository's got quite big, and if you've got a slow connection, it'll slow it. But you'll look pretty fine.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, when you look at it a few years ago, you know. They have some unseen
And I'm assuming, Jason, your .env file, you've set that up already.
In theory, it's been a while.
Oh, cool. So we should be okay. Sometimes they add, very occasionally, they add some new variables. And if you don't have those, things go wrong as well. But but if it was relatively recent, it should be okay.
Yeah, you had it set up by KohaCon, so.
Yeah, but we
Well,
never
if
actually
you're-
got to this step,
Oh, we didn't?
you know? No.
I thought when you were
Yeah.
testing my bug, you tested it on your
I
testing.
tested it, but I didn't get to the sign off point. So I don't know
No,
if my
but-
Bugzilla connection is
Oh, yeah.
right.
Yeah, I normally, because you probably don't want us to show us your env file because it has your Bugzilla password in it. But I normally just compare the number of lines in the .env file to what's on Koha testing Docker, or that example, or there's some way to do a diff between a git diff between the default file, but I've never Git's not my strong point. Yeah, and someone was mentioning about the prune command, and basically Docker images over time tend to take up a whole lot of space on your computer, and so I'll paste in what I use, and it just deletes everything. And if you don't use Docker for anything, so now you should be able to go KTD up. But if you don't use Docker for anything else, it frees up a lot of disk space. We may not have done a KTD down after the last time, but
Oh, yeah.
It looks okay so far. Yeah. I think, yay.
Okay. So now 81, 80. Okay. So we're testing the before and after on this patch 38331. Is that right?
Yep, and the before is just do a search and confirm it doesn't show you those 5 dates. Not terribly exciting.
So I did an item search, right? And I'm looking. So I didn't actually read the bug yet. You're adding date accession, lost on date, damaged on date, withdrawn on date, and date last seen.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. Can you make them show now? Probably
And
not.
confirm I don't see those dates. Don't see them there either. So probably not, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So what's next?
So you'll need to
So
open
a new,
terminal
new
tab,
Okay. And I think I have to
and then
do that again.
and I think, yep. And then you'll need to do KTD -- shell. And then it's usually a good idea to do a branch. And that makes it easier to get back to main when you're done. So if you do git checkout -b and then what you're gonna call it. I'll usually, yeah.
Bug 381 like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do origin main there. Is
I
that
don't
right?
think you should need to.
Okay.
I should remember to do this step. I never do this. I think it would make my life easier.
Oh yeah. Just hit enter. I think that should work.
Okay.
Yep. And then git BZ apply and then the bug number. And you'll say, do you want to do both those patches? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Failed.
Except no, I should have obsoleted one of those.
uh-huh. I was just wondering why there were two.
No. Whoops. I didn't click a thing when I put my new patch up there.
Well, so you can do git BZ apply abort. And then do it again, not the abort, the apply the patch number. And then instead of just saying yes, we'll do interactive I. And we just want, which one's yours?
The second one, the longer one.
Okay. So we'll put a hashtag in front of the one on line 3.
And if I
Oh,
did it
this
right,
is-
you wouldn't have to do it.
Yeah.
This is where I
yeah,
get all
so
confused.
hit I to go
Oh,
into
right.
insert mode.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
hashtag.
And do I
Then
need a space?
nope.
Then escape to get out of insert mode.
Okay.
And then colon QW for quit and write. And
Okay.
exclamation mark
WQ or QW?
QW.
I just do I do WQ.
WQ, okay.
WQ
I don't know. I've
exclamation.
never tried the other one. You don't need anything else. No, you don't need the explanation mark.
Oh, you
Just
don't?
WQ.
Yep,
Okay.
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 And then, we'll need to look at the, okay, apply patch, restart all. So you should just be able to type restart underscore all.
And I'll
And-
be honest, I'm not 100% certain if you need to do that after the patch you just applied. Probably. I'm in the habit of just restarting services every time I change the code.
Yeah,
I do the same as well. Yeah. I don't think there's a database update in this one, is there?
no.
So no, you don't need to do that.
So then if you go back and edit your search and do a new search, actually, I don't know if even just refreshing it would work. But
I always found it confusing because some bugs you just need to refresh the page, and others you have to clear everything and start with a clear browser. But normally
Yeah.
shift refresh works for a lot. But
Clearing the browser cache is definitely my first troubleshooting thing of, oh, this test plan didn't do what it said it was supposed to do. Did I clear my browser cache after I applied the patch?
yeah, I've tended well, for a while I use a browser I don't use, like Chromium or there's the Firefox Developer Edition. So and I set the settings so that it clears it every time you clears the cache every time you start it up. So then I don't run into that problem too often.
Okay, I fumbled around. I couldn't remember. I didn't know where this was in the table settings, but this looks like it, right?
Yep. Yep.
So by default, it says date accessioned. The 5 dates that are being added are hidden by default. That's correct. Uncheck it to make it show the column. And then do suit set 2 again. I'll just rerun my search.
I wonder if some of them don't show if there's no
data.
No data. So if one of those items gets marked as lost, does it show properly, or?
I think it should show even if there's no values, but there was big changes with the API generating those tables. So
The lost status. I did not get.
Oh, that
Do I
date
need to?
column too. Look, the actions column has the date accessioned.
Ooh.
Do the
What
shift.
did I do?
Do shift F5. This might be a weird cookie cache-in thing, or cache-in thing. So
Yeah,
There.
it was a cached thing. So I got date accessioned. I got item lost on date, damage date, withdrawn date, date last seen.
And then if you export results, are the values in the export?
Date accessioned, item lost. I didn't have that or that. Date last seen. Looks like it.
Should probably check all the formats. How many formats are on by
I
default?
guess. You mean CSV?
Yeah,
Like there. Okay.
and probably print to make sure it shows on the print.
So this one has the dates. I can copy it. And paste it here.
Yep.
See dates. I can print. I don't know if I can see dates. And it's like a lot.
I see date accessioned on there.
Yep, there's my lost on date there.
Yep.
So I think those export options work.
Cool. So since the other thing that you can do before we sign it off is if you go back to your command line, if you just type QA, enter, it'll run the QA tools on it. And that's all okay. So you don't have to go back and say, hey, it worked, but it failed this QA tool.
Yeah, can you expand on what just happened?
So the QA tools, and I'm newer to this, I've only QA'd a few things. It has a bunch of different options depending on like what kinds of changes are being made. And it'll check things like, are there more spaces? Are there like trailing spaces that there shouldn't be? Are there other things that don't follow the coding guidelines? And it'll come back and it'll say like, hey, there were these problems. And that helps like the QA team make sure coding guidelines are being followed when there's a coding guideline for, when there's a QA test for the coding guideline. Also, if there are unit tests included on the patch, it will run any of those to make sure that the system sees that it's working the way it's supposed to. It's like part of what the QA team does when we're QAing, check the QA tests. But that can just be helpful because sometimes it catches things that you miss. And if you can tell the developer now, then when it gets to QA, then like they can fix it and we don't have to fail QA on it later when it's maybe been longer. Cause like in this case, this got signed off or is going to be signed off like the same day it got patched, but I don't know what the QA queue looks like right now as far as like how much is in there. So it might be a little while before it's QA'd. And so if we can reduce how much back and forth there has to be between like once it's QA'd, if it has to go back and get fixed, then it has to get QA'd again. But if it can get QA problems that the tests catch fixed before it gets to QA, that just means less back and forth at that stage.
So
Sense?
what would I do, and what would I see if there was something that needed to be done here?
So I think it says like fail where it says okay, and then it'll
Okay.
say, here, one sec, let me pull up the QA tools GitLab.
And really, if it told you that the QA tools had failed, there's nothing else you need to do with this bug in your testing Docker. Then you would just go to Bugzilla and set it to failed QA. Maybe paste
Okay, so
failure.
I wouldn't sign off on it then
Yeah.
because it failed, because
Yeah.
that QA tool failed. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and you could go in and say, like, there's a bunch of different, here, I'm gonna, can you stop sharing for a sec? And I'll just show you some of the messages that might come up.
You could say that this patch worked as described, but when I ran the QA tool, it failed.
Yeah. So like these are all forbidden patterns that it checks for. So like, is there a console log in the patch? Is there the wrong kind of quote string? Is there unmerged changes? Is there a tab instead of 4 spaces? And then it'll come back and tell you those problems.
So when I fail QA, I could put in what error it gave me in the
Yeah.
comment. Okay.
And it probably will tell you which files also it failed on. So like, I'll stop sharing again, but if you go back to your screen share. So where it said like admin column settings.yml, it would say like failed and the fail for that file. So then you'd be able to say, hey, Andrew, here's the QA test that failed, the error and which file it failed on.
Okay.
But it didn't fail. Yay. So
Yay.
then like then you would do git space so space 1, because that's one patch. If there were 2 patches, you'd do 2, etc.
Okay. Go hit enter.
Yeah. Change the files. So then if you do git bz attach -e, which will let you edit the commit message, and then space the bug number, and then space head in all caps. Head is like where you are in the git log. So that's the most recent patch. If you had like 3 patches, then it would be head -3, so it got from head to 3. So then if you hit enter, and then you'll have to hit I again to edit. And then if you go down, that's like, here's the attachment. That's the bug name still, signed off by you, obsoletes that bug. And then you can delete where it says, yeah, if you delete
That
that.
one.
And
Okay.
then I think that's everything. Then you can do the escape : WQ,
Enter.
enter. Updated the status to signed off and attached it. And then I always go look at the bug and say, cool, Jason is the most recent patch. Jason attached the most recent patch, and it obsoleted the old one, and put a comment in and set it to signed off. You can also, and I probably should have said this sooner, before, like where you can go and edit it, and it has like the test plan. Usually it's a good idea to say like, worked great, or it worked really well. This doesn't, it can be a good place too if you're like, oh, this works, but we might want to be aware of this thing. Like the test plan worked, but I don't know. I can't think of a good example that goes with this one, but
But like if I wanted to make a comment about it, I could do that while I was editing.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying. Okay.
So, and then since you've signed off, what I would do is git checkout main.
Hey, before you do that though, would you real
Yeah.
quick do git log?
Oh yeah.
So when we were talking about like commits and head and stuff, so the log will show you all of the patches that have been applied to your system. So that first one on the list is this patch from this bug that you put a sign off on. So when you said git SO1, it added that line in there. And then the next one down is head, is where main is right now. So that's from there on down is like actual Koha. And the patches you were just testing are at the top of the list. The log is helpful when you're like trying to remember how many patches you're trying to sign off on.
Yes. And then if you just hit, I think you just have to hit, like Q in here to get back to the regular.
Yeah. Yeah, if you just want to count the number, the git log, I think it's git log and then --1 line. It'll just show I don't know whether you want to try that. It's not
So
too
git log
important.
and then dash what?
One line.
Like
As
one.
in O, no,
Okay.
ONELINE. No space.
No space.
Yeah.
So like that.
Yeah. And then it just shows each bug. If there's 5, you'll see bug 38331 repeated 5 times with whatever the title is. So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, and then Q to get back to the command line.
Another on that point, another really cool one that I learned at KohaCon is TIG. Like it comes in KTD. So if you just do TIG, which is git backwards, and hit enter, it's like an interactive git log, and you can use the arrow key to go. So it's really nice. Like if there's a patch with a bunch of patches, you can use the arrow key and count them like do and see and then you do Control C to get out of here. But this is a pretty cool little thing that comes in KTD.
Cool. And so then the next thing that I would usually do, since I've signed it off, is git checkout main. And then forget the command to list branches. Is it just branches L dash L?
I'll just get branch. Get
Oh,
branch.
get branch. Yeah.
Some people set up shortcuts for these commands, but when you're learning Git, I find it confusing. It adds another layer that suits some people's workflow because they don't want to type Git branch all the time, but I find it confusing for when you're new to Git.
Yeah. And then trying to is it just git branch space dash D and then
Capital D, yeah, and
capital
then
D and then the branch.
and you have autocomplete normally, but
Yeah, so you can
so you
tab
can just
like
put this
once you've done 3.8.
and then press the tab key and you've already done it. So yeah.
I got another one we can delete there, that 357. So
Yeah. So
So
if
if
you
you
just start, if you just put bug or BU and then press tab, it'll auto-complete it.
oh, nifty.
Yeah,
Okay.
autocomplete's great. Especially if you're like changing directory or something or I use it all the time. So yeah, that's a bug sign off on the line.
There's
So-
one more step though, isn't there? You've deleted the branch, but you haven't really, you've got to reset to head. Do others do that, or is that just me?
Well, see, I usually do that, but I usually don't make a branch. I just stay on
right.
main and do whatever apply whatever patches. And then when I'm done, I do git reset -- hard origin/main. And that resets the branch that you're on to whatever main is. But I think because Jason did all his testing on that other branch, his main branch is still just like where it needs to be.
Oh,
And you could git log to see what's there. And you'll see.
I guess we shouldn't be confusing everyone. I normally do a git reset hard. I'll paste it in, and then restart all to. So I just someone showed me to do it one time, and I've just carried on doing it. So
Well, like that's why I put the exclamation mark when I do quit write, is because someone showed me how to do that when I was first doing command line stuff
all right.
with Koha. So that's how I do it, even though it turns out I don't need to. So we've all got stuff like that.
It is probably
Yeah.
worth doing a reset all though. So you did
Yes.
restart all before, which like stops all of the services. I don't remember what all, SIP maybe stuff. Reset all wipes out your database and rebuilds a new fresh database.
It's just like if you were starting up KTD for the first time. So, you could shut down KTD and it just puts it back into the default state, basically. Yeah.
Can I do that here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It takes a little longer, but like 30 seconds.
But if you've put in data or changed things or added records, it apart from checkouts for some reason, apart from reindexing, it basically puts it back into the default state. It is quite easy to screw up Koha when you're testing things. So, well, I find I can. So
Yeah.
not sure about other people, but
I think the combo of the get reset hard origin main and then reset underscore all should always like put you back at terra firma.
and I guess we should look at the dashboard to see Jason's name in lights.
Oh, yeah.
Here, I'll stop my share. We're done with me, right?
Sure. So dashboard.koha-community.org is our awesome project dashboard. It's got things like here are new bugs, triage, patches, documentation. These are all bugs that need sign off. If you click on that one, it'll like do the search that these are all needs sign off, blocker, critical, major, normal, minor, trivial, with the newest ones at the top. Needs QA. So again, that's how many bugs, how many total things. These ones exclude the enhancements and new feature requests, the yellow ones. These are ones that have passed QA, but the release manager, Katrine, still needs to do her thing on and push it. These are new features that were pushed. These are just all the bug statuses, release information. Where is the?
Yeah, it changed
leaderboard.
recently, so it's a leaderboard at the top. Yeah.
So we can see Jason has one sign off in December. Yay! And so you can see all these different things that. So this is for the month, and this is for all year. David has a lot of sign-offs.
And one or two. And if you click on your name, so if you click on Rob's name, Jason's name, this is relatively new, added to the dashboard. So, yeah.
And this can be really nice too. Like if I look at my dashboard, I can see these are my patches that I've written that need QA. This one's waiting to get pushed. These ones have failed QA, so I need to go back and fix them. I need to look at that one again because I thought I had addressed the issues there. Okay. And these are ones that are assigned to me that are in a new status. So like I'm going to be working on the allow local holds priority to fill by groups, not just individual libraries.
Lisette, is that little target, is that like targeted for a upcoming release?
Yep,
Yeah.
so that's a roadmap project. This is an academy tag keyword in Bugzilla. So if you go look here,
Yeah.
you can see it's
So-
got the keywords.
Academy means it's, well, whoever's created it have said this is a really easy one to do. Either coding, I can only really do string changes when I do do patches, but it's supposed, it's good first issue really is what it's saying.
Yep. And this was a pretty good first issue, except it turns out that the problem report stuff wasn't being sent to the notices for template toolkit. So I had to also add template toolkit to the problem report notice. Also, I messed up that patch. Okay, that patch name should just be add template toolkit to problem report notice. And then I probably didn't put enough line breaks in. Like only put one, but I think you need two to make it not do that. So once that's pushed, I can go, but it's really easy for me to see. I'm curious how frequently it updates because it got put back to need sign off like last week sometime. or to sign off. Yeah. So interesting.
It might be pay to ask
Martin.
Yeah,
Martin, because but I thought it did update in real time. So yeah,
I thought so too.
something weird. So there's always something weird.
Yeah. This one I know is failed QA because I need to.
Yeah,
That's
and allow local holds priority to fill by hierarchical groups. That's something that CLAMS is
sponsoring.
co-sponsoring, and so
Mhm.
that one's a roadmap one too, and it doesn't have the bullseye.
Oh yeah, and actually it did have the roadmap, and then that's interesting. I'll talk to Martin about that because you're right; those should be updated. But everybody who has a Bugzilla account has one of these pages. But yeah, like the easiest way to find it would be to find yourself on here. Like here's Brendan. So I actually have that bookmarked as like one of my tabs that opens. So it's really easy to see stuff. Although if it's not updating properly, then that's a problem. But I'll talk to Martin about that. Because he's who overhauled this year. And it's a lot. There are a lot of helpful things that were added.
It's
I think
bit more garish and big. Some of the text is a bit big, but that's neither here nor there.
yeah.
Neither here nor there.
But
there's a repository for it, so you can add requests.
Yeah,
to
there's that.
Improve it.
And it's just linked at the bottom of all those pages. So like there's some issues here, things like that. Oh, like how they split some of the dashboard into its own leaderboard, things like that. So, yeah, that's pretty neat. And I think technically there's a way from Bugzilla to find what like your number is. Maybe. Not actually sure if there is, or if you have to find it. I think if you haven't like signed anything off, but you want to know what your number is, Martin can tell you because he's got access to the database.
There's a search on that page up in the top right. I was able to search by name and find myself.
Oh, cool. Yes, I forgot about the search. I think at first there was not a search, so it was just you had to get the number from Martin or be on the leaderboard. So
That doesn't seem like a great search.
no, I think it's pretty basic.
Yeah,
search.
Searching for Ed found Ed, but searching for Veal didn't find anything. You were just next in line.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Might just search on first name or something then. So. Yeah. I don't think we have time to go through a whole other bug since we've only got 15 minutes left. Did anyone have anything else they wanted to talk about? David, I don't know if you saw the link I put in the chat earlier for some documentation that Brendan shared with us during our last one that he set up. That's especially helpful if you're on Windows.
Yeah, no, I saw that from the last meeting. Yeah, that was great.
And I want to thank David for his, I think he has a thing called a cheat sheet, a Koha testing Docker cheat sheet. And I got a lot of information from that when I was getting started. So thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, no, it was for me initially because I so that I remember things. Yeah, I'm threatening to turn it into a proper guide, but I've never got around to it yet. So, but I will at some stage. I was going to say the other thing I do sometimes on the bug is write my own testing notes. So sometimes how do I say it politely? Sometimes the test plan's a bit sparse, and you need to do a whole lot of things to make certain steps work. So I add my own testing notes, and it's more just so that when the bug comes around, it gets for future me, so I know what I did to set things up or whatever I did to things that aren't quite right. So I always find that. I hope it's more for me than anyone else, but anyway.
And that's also really helpful, especially if you're testing something that's like if I didn't put a good enough test plan on how to set up the library groups and the circulation rules for that bug that I'm working on, it would, but Brendan, you were testing it and you knew how to set it up as you went. You could put in like, hey, there were steps missing in the test plan. You also need to do these to like get the group set up or something. Then also if anyone else goes to test it, because that's something that we'll probably need to have lots of testing on because it's going to touch the holds queue. Then if I don't do good notes, but you can do it and write down any improvements to the test plan, then whoever else is testing next can see those also.
Yeah, I did that too. I saw, I don't know who I saw, probably David doing like adding test notes. And for some of the bugs that are more like I tested a SIP, how to send SIP commands, and it's really kind of hard to figure out how to do. So I put the test notes so that the next time I go back and test, I'm like, I already put those notes are on Bugzilla. I can just follow what I did the last time. So it helps you. It's in your own best interest.
Yeah.
I'd say I've had mixed success with replying to bugs on Bugzilla to say, like, I would love to sign this off, but I need a test plan. Sometimes that gets a response.
Do you also fail QA it?
No, that would probably be a little more incentive.
Yes, that's what I've been told to do by Katrine, is if there's not enough of a test plan for you to test it, to do that. Or to reach out to them on Mattermost and say, hey, we need a test plan for this for it to get signed off. That's also, I found somewhat effective.
There are also bugs out there though, where like in my sign off, I have said, okay, this is the test plan I did. I think it was right. I'm signing off. Tell me if it was wrong. Because it needs to move, and I've
Yeah.
got tired of bugging someone for a test plan.
And yes, if the test plan is not comprehensive, or if it doesn't work, you should fail QA on the bug and explain why. I know that sometimes people get concerned that like, well, I'm not on the QA team, but it's not working how it's supposed to. So still good to fail QA. That's how we know we need to fix it, especially if you tell us why. So.
Yeah, I think that's something that just wasn't clear to me forever, was failed QA is the status that means it didn't work. Like to a librarian coming in, it doesn't really make as much sense as it probably makes to a developer.
Yeah.
Well, and there's no like failed sign off step either. It's not like it needs to get to QA before it can fail QA. It's just at any point in the process, it didn't work.
Yep. Jason, do you want to talk about the Koha-US Developers Forum?
I mean, I can.
Was that not you? For some reason I thought that was you.
No, I'm part of the education committee and we're putting it together. David knows about it too. He's been on the education committee and we appreciate him being there. But basically it's just a thing that we're putting together where we can sort of sit down in a Zoom room together with developers and users, put them together and ask each other questions, and just get to know each other better. And then I think the idea is eventually to sort of hone in on things. One of the the things that came up in our discussions was like in discussion bugs. Like, would it be helpful if we could get everybody together and focus on an in discussion bug to try and get it moving? But really, it's just the idea is to sort of bring down some barriers and make everybody a little more comfortable working, like get librarians more comfortable talking to developers and that sort of thing. So right now we have a survey that Sarah sent out that's just asking for questions to ask during the forum. Like, what would you like to ask a developer? Developers, what would you like to ask a librarian? That sort of thing. And we don't have a date for that yet. Our next education committee meeting is a couple Mondays from now. So we're hoping to set a date before the end of December, and then we'll have that. We're hoping to have it in the first quarter of 2025.
Cool. Thank you. And then,
And David put that in the chat, what he sent out to the community, which is what I should have just been reading off of because that's our script.
okay, and then our next meeting. Gotta go find it.
Oh, did Kristi get her question answered? I think she wanted to know what software needs downloaded. Okay. The
Yeah.
Windows subsystem for Linux.
That was the installing dependencies that I shared.
Okay.
Because Brendan is on Windows and has great Windows documentation in there for how to get it set up.
I thought it was cool the way that Jason was doing it is a little bit different than the way that I do it. And like maybe somebody else has another different way to do it a little bit. So it's always cool to see how it works.
I think we should all take turns doing it. Like, I shouldn't do it next month so that we can see how somebody else does it next month. I think that would be helpful.
Yes, and hopefully next month I should have. I'm putting it on my calendar in advance this time. I had forgotten about it because it wasn't on my calendar. But our next one will be the 9th of January at the same time. And I'll try and have a few things that we can work on signing off, including maybe something that's can't be done on the sandboxes. I think would be good to do. So we can show some of the things that like that bug could have been signed off on the sandboxes. It didn't need to be on the command line. But there's sometimes things in bugs that have to be done from the command line, like running a script or something. So that we can do that, try and have a couple of those ready. And you're right, I should put in the notes, which we didn't have this week. I'll make some notes for this week that we did that bug and that Jason was in charge. And that Jason won't be in charge next time. And by in charge, I mean of the screen.
Call it driving. I drove this time.
Yeah.
Someone else can drive next time.
You were very brave and we appreciate it.
Agreed. So, okay, I think then we can wrap this one up. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks, Lisette.
Yeah, thank you.
Goodbye.
See ya.